Uh, yes, ma'am, you should have because you are co-host sharing rights. Are you able to share, ma'am?
Let me try.
Okay.
Dr. Jain. Yeah, is my screen on visible?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. We are able to see your screen.
Okay.
Maybe you can. Yes. Now in full screen, we are able to see.
Okay.
We
So
are
I
good
think
to
we
go,
can
ma'am.
start.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
many
Before
participants
that,
do we have right now? I'm sorry, I'm not able to see anything now.
yeah, actually, ma'am, we total, including us, all of us, we have 14. So we have our MSc third year, MSc second year students, third sem students, and MSc first year as well. There. So total, we have 12 students, ma'am. So all the students are there.
Okay.
They've joined. Uh,
Okay, so are we
also,
expecting
ma'am,
more to join? Do you want me to wait?
no, ma'am, we should start. They will be joining in the
Okay.
process. We also have our
Okay.
other my colleagues who have joined. So Dr. Anita Joby is there, who is our head of the Center of Excellence in Astrobiology at Amit University, Mumbai. I also have my colleague Dr. R. Selva Kumaran with us here, who has joined, and rest students have also joined. So before we start, I just would like to give a small introduction of today's eminent speaker, Sonali ma'am. So Sonali ma'am, we would be very happy to know that she has completed her BE from MDU Rohtak, and she has done her MBA in Finance and Systems from VIT. And after that, she has completed her MA in Space and Telecommunication Law. So we have very opt speaker for today's discussions. She has worked as senior manager at Satcom in satellite telecommunication services, where she gained 15 years of experience in managing INSAT and GSAT and foreign leased transponders, provision agreements with commercial users, market assessment, business development, costing or pricing of satellite transponders, marine vessels, AIS data, legal proceedings at Honorable TD SAT, etc. She has worked, and now she has joined in 2022. She has joined in space, and she is working as a deputy director uh, in PMAD. We have a very good speaker who can shed light on the what is outer space, and also when we are trying to send something in space, or when we are dealing something with space, then what and all should be actually taken care of. So that she will be talking about. I really welcome Sonali ma'am here for our students, and I'm sure they will gain a plenty of practical knowledge about these kind of policies and laws for you. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sneha, for this introduction and kind words. Okay, so one of the student can just unmute themselves and tell me what is expected out of this session. We have just 1 hour. We will wind up by 4:45 because I have another meeting. But just want to hear from you. What are you expecting in next 1 hour? One of you, please, quickly. Anyone?
Any of the student can unmute and answer.
Uh, Okay, Sharmila J. I can read the name. Sharmila, can you unmute yourself quickly and say what are you expecting out of this session today? Okay, okay. I think
I
there is
think,
some
ma'am, they
problem.
have some issues with unmuting, I guess. Yeah, they have some issues with unmuting themselves.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Okay, then
Just
let me start with whatever I have prepared because I really don't know what are you looking for. So, thank you so much for being here, for having me here today. And what I will be talking about is a little bit of outer space. And because I'm working in space right now, so I'll be talking about how in space can help you. Okay, so in next 1 hour, you will not be the expert of the subject. I am not the expert of the subject, though I am working in this domain. But then maybe some curious minds will pick up few keywords in next few minutes, and then maybe after once we will finish the session, they will do some R&D on those keywords. That is what I am expecting from you. Just have a pen and paper ready with you so that you pick up a few keywords that you like, that trigger something in you, and you find more about you. That is how we get on to studies. So the topic which I chose for myself today is outer space and in space. I love to start any presentation, especially for the students, with a quote. Today my quote is that space is not the final frontier. Jyotiraj Sindhya, recently he said that space is the final frontier. But before him, lot of experts said that it is not a final frontier. The three frontiers that we already have, we are talking about from the militarization of space perspective. We already have air, water, and terrestrial. So space is the fourth frontier if you talk about war strategies. But it is not the final frontier. It is only the next frontier because we believe that human race will again get on to some other technology. Space is something which nobody can conquer, but everybody can explore. And we should explore it only for the peaceful purposes. So, my dear friends, what is outer space? It is just a region beyond in Earth's atmosphere. We know this. Now, there is a line which we say below which we have Earth and its atmosphere, above which we have the outer space. This line is Kármán line. They call it, it is 100 kilometers above sea level. NASA and USA, they contest this. They say no, it is not 62 miles above, it is 50 miles above or 80 kilometers above sea level. So we say that Kármán line is approximately 80 to 100. This is not a universally accepted number. That's what I'm trying to say. Because beyond 80 kilometers, the air becomes so thin that you start feeling that microgravity in your body. So that's where they say that 80 kilometer is good enough to be called as space because none of the airplane can go up to 80 kilometers. Now we all know how far airplane goes in terms of kilometers above sea level. Any idea, anyone? No? Okay, so any aeroplane, it starts with 8 kilometers, it goes up to 12 to 15 kilometers, not beyond that. Now, space, if I'm saying it starts between 80 to 100, so there is a big gap in between. The gap is all stratosphere and mesosphere. And legally, if you talk about, this is absolutely a gray area. There is no legal framework which exists for this gap, these many kilometers above sea level. We don't know what belongs to whom. Okay, so this is where because there are no applications which are happening in these areas, that is, no airplanes are flying, no satellites are there, so people have just left this area. Nobody wants to touch the legalities of this area. So far the application doesn't begin. What is the composition of space? It's all vacuum there, gases, dust, radiations can be good, can be bad, can be not affecting the human body, whatever it may be, and a microgravity element where you feel the weightlessness. Challenges in the space, if you talk about radiations, we know the way we are talking to, the way we talk to each other when we are sitting side by side, we can't do this in space because there is no atmosphere, there is no carrier, it's all vacuum, the temperatures are extreme, And that's where you need propulsion system if you want to make any movement in the space, and you need life support all the time. You need oxygen cylinders all the time if you are exposed in the space. Inside, if you are in a space shuttle or something, the temperatures and the oxygen levels are being maintained. So what is the future of space exploration? Space tourism is one, that is the future. Then we are talking about making colonies in Mars and Moon. So Elon Musk, he has said that he will be very disappointed if in his lifetime this is not achieved. Colonies are not settled in Mars. You know, Starlink, you know about Starlink, right? Generation 1, Generation 2. Sneha, students are not interacting.
Yeah,
It will
yeah.
make a very boring session for them. Can
Right,
you
right,
tell
right,
them
right.
to just answer a bit?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll just students, now you can try unmuting yourself and answer,
Okay.
because the permission is given to you. So now you can try unmuting yourself and answer whatever ma'am is asking. You all know, we have all learned all these things, right?
So have you heard about Generation 1, Generation 2 of Starlink?
Any one of you can answer.
Okay, so Generation 1 and Generation 2 of Starlink is not confining to Earth alone. The communication is not over Earth. Mr. Elon Musk wants to set up this constellation for the communication from Earth to Mars itself. So that is where he is already looking for the colonies to be established in Mars. And the next big thing which will happen is mining. Mining can be either of an asteroid or of the planets itself. So mine there, get the tons of rare metals or ores and bring them to Earth is the next big thing which is happening in the outer space. Now, when we are talking about space, we need to understand there are some legal frameworks which have to be worked on, and legal framework cannot be of one country or a few developed countries, because space belongs to everyone. And that is where international laws or law of nation comes into picture. This was the term which was coined in 1870. And it talks about why it was coined, so as to attain international peace and security among different states. When we are saying states, internationally, it actually means different countries. 193 states, because it is called in United Nations. Though we are a country, but we are called as states when we talk about any of the UN treaties, any of the international treaties. Now, John Austin, he is a legal philosopher. He said that international law is not a proper law, but it is just a morality. Morality, it is just an ethic. You should do it right. That's all what it is. Because international law lacks the element of law. Why? It is not enforceable. Have you ever heard of any international police which will come and give you some sanction? No, nothing like that exists. International law does not have sovereign powers, legislative authority, or an enforcement directorate to give you adequate sanctions. And that's where international law is not a law. It is just a morality. You should know what is right, what is wrong, and act accordingly. Yes? So the ultimate aim is to have peace. Uh, the coming to space law, which was the topic of today, what space law gives you? It is actually giving you a legal framework and the principles which actually guide you, guide a state and lot of other actors of the state. Now, you please understand, it is not only the government which is into space. Now, in every country, there are a lot of private players, like SpaceX in USA is a private operator. Uh, if you talk about India, we have a lot of startups now, which are all private operators working in space. So with all this other actors other than government coming into picture. So what space law tells us, it gives you a proper framework, a proper principle, so that you should use and explore the outer space in a correct way. It is applicable not only to the governments, not only to the respective governments, but also to various other private bodies which are of those countries which are working in space. Why space law is important? Because space is very unique and very valuable. Okay, lot of scientific discoveries, innovations, they happen in the space. Space is one thing which is used intensively for socio-economic benefits. We know about the remote sensing application of space. It is called as Eye in the Space, wherein you get the aerial view of your entire Earth. So mostly this application is used for socio-economic things like urban development, fisheries, oceanography, agriculture. State government buys such data and plan accordingly. They are not making any money out of it, but then it is the most valuable thing which they get before any decision making. Now, space law is something which is always contested and vulnerable. Why? Because it is directly related to the security of a nation, to the stability of a nation. And you should use the space in a sustainable manner. So, space sustainability is coming up in a big way these days. I'm sure you would be reading about it. The space SSA efforts, space sustainability. Now, space law, it is very challenging because things are extremely subjective. Space does not belong to anyone, yet it is available for everyone, right? So space law gives you various challenges, and that's why it gives you n number of opportunities, because the things are rapidly changing. We are talking about space tourism, the new developments which are happening in the field of space, how people wants to use there is a US company which is working on making a coffee vending machine for ISS. They want to install it in on ISS, so that astronauts can enjoy a cup of coffee there whenever they want. So these kind of developments are happening in the field of outer space. People are talking about testing the medicines which are how they are on Earth, and once they are taken in the space, then what changes in the medicines, what changes in the food, what changes in the bacteria which is taken from Earth or from underwater to the space, how the changes are happening, how the radiations and heat variations are affecting that. So all these things are being studied. This is all because we want to promote something called space to space economy. Once the things are established, things will be made in space and will be sold in space. So you understand where the humanity is moving towards. But everything has to be done for the peaceful purposes. So this is a mockery of space law. You can visit this website, Lunar Embassy, wherein somebody called Dennis Hope is selling you the land in any of the planet what you want. So don't fall into all these kind of praise, because this is all not validated by anyone. Okay, this is not rather allowed. Space is for all. Nobody can own a piece of land, anybody in the space or in any of the planet other than Earth or in any other celestial body. Please, and please be very clear. So don't fall a prey to all these things. Now let's talk about what happened in 1957. 1957, we saw the first 4th of October, Sputnik 1 from Russia, that time USSR, it was launched. And that was the triggering point, the major milestone that a human achieved. If you know this, it was the era of Cold War between USSR and USA. Both were silently working on lot of weapons inside them. Now, rocket, if you see, it's as good as a missile. The only difference is missile is something which goes horizontally, and rocket goes vertically. So the kind of rockets they were trying to establish for missiles, almost the same rockets they were using for their rocketry engineering. And that's where Sputnik 1 was launched on October 4th, 1957. So, and USSR was the first country to do that. And after that, US day and night they picked up and they came up with their satellites just 2 months after this. So this was the triggering point of raising lot of legal issues on the outer space. Who has what right on the outer space? If you are going in the outer space, what kind of duties you should have? What is your responsibility when you are going to outer space? Lot of questions it gave rise to. And within 40 months of this first activity which happened in the outer space, we had UN made a body for the peaceful use of outer space. We will come to that in the next slide. But just within 40 months, all the states sat together because they had to do something about it now. The second major experiment which happened in 1975, it is Apollo Soyuz astronaut rescue mission. So what happened in this is that USA and it was a precursor to ISS. ISS was started getting launched in 1998 onwards. So what happened to this is USA and USSR, two satellites met, that is Apollo and Soyuz capsule met in the space. So they docked with each other. They exchanged their astronauts from one to another, another to one. And that's where they established something called humanity in space. They said that this is how, if the time comes, they will be able to rescue the astronauts, because astronauts are nothing but conveyors of mankind in or humankind in the space. So this is how the international cooperation started in the space. Now, third one, what you are seeing is a curious case of Asgardia. So in Azerbaijan, there is a scientist, he is a billionaire at the same time. So he has a self-proclaimed nation in space. He call it, there is a satellite which was launched. It is Asgardia 1. It was launched in 2016-17. And what he is saying is that the space which my satellite is occupying, that is my nation in space. That is my country in space. And he is also claiming that by 2048 or 47, he will set up a full colony, an establishment on the moon. So this is again a mockery of space, but then this is how lot of countries and the private players of those countries are, setting their foot in the outer space exploration. Now, as I was saying, within 40 months, US came up with COPUS, that is Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. There were a lot of guidelines and principles that were laid by this committee in 1959, but that was not sufficient. They were only principles and guidelines. This is how you should do. It was only you should. The state should do this. The state should do that. That is where there was a need felt that all the members of UN, they should also sign a treaty which was made in 1967. It is the oldest treaty that is still so relevant, the one and only oldest treaty which is so relevant today also, the Outer Space Treaty 1967. So it talks about exploration and use of outer space, including moon and other celestial bodies. Okay, so if you talk about Corpus was in 1959. They had worked in subcommittee format. There were two committees, scientific and technical subcommittee, and another was a legal subcommittee. So these subcommittees, they gave out some principles, some guidelines. This almost the similar principles and guidelines were signed when it came to Outer Space Treaty. You can compare these two documents, maybe just a little bit of elaboration of what they said in 1959. It was signed in 1967. So what 1967 Outer Space Treaty talks about is that space activities should be for the benefit of all nations. Any and every country is free to explore the space The space does not belong to any one country. Okay, you cannot claim any sovereign rights over the space. I say that over India, whatever space is, it belongs to India. No, that will be absolutely incorrect to say. No nation can own a space. Now, you all know about geostationary orbit satellites, yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So when you know about geostationary satellites, you know that they are placed in one particular orbital slot from where it is looking at the country, right?
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
that orbital slot also does not belong to your country. That orbital slot, say 83 degree is over India. 74 is just over India. Okay, 74-degree east. Now that slot does not belong to India. Indian government, every country has an administrator, okay, every government. So in India, the administrator is DOT for the spectrum. So DOT is only the custodian of this particular orbital slot. DOT is only keeping the slot occupied. It is in their custody. They don't own it. Nobody owns space. I'm trying to insist on this one point. You should not say that because my satellite is kept there, so that space is mine or that orbital location is mine. No, it is with you. So far, you are using it. The moment you vacate it, the person sitting next to you in the orbital filing will come and occupy that space and nobody can stop them. Okay. So no nation can own space. You can only keep it in your custody. You can use it for good, for the peaceful purposes. Now, weapons of mass destructions cannot be put in the orbit. So it talks about space cannot be used for any military or any weaponization kind of an operation. Absolutely a complete no. It has to be used, or the moon, the planets, all celestial bodies, they have to be used only and only for the peaceful purposes. Now, if you talk about astronaut, an Indian is on Earth, an Indian is an Indian, a USA person is a USA person, is an American. But once he goes to the space, he is the envy of mankind. No Indian is Indian there. Everybody are envy of mankind. So this Outer Space Treaty also talked about how all the signatory states will come together to, if at all, any astronaut of any nationality of any nation requires any rescue operation to be done. It also covers that. So every country, every state will honor that. The signatory states also talked about that state is responsible for whatever their people are doing. Tomorrow, one of you make a satellite, launch it, and that satellite goes and hit any of the US running satellite, then who is responsible? Is it you who is responsible? Who is
No.
responsible? Then
Entire government is responsible.
so the state is responsible, the launching state, which happens to be India. So US
Yes,
will
ma'am.
come and take the liability, the entire damage from India. And then India, in turn, the government can take it from you as a company, as a private company. So that is how liability conventions work with. So signatory states, they acknowledged and they signed that each state will be responsible for the space activity which is happening in their country by the private people of their company, of their country, and such private people need authorization from the government of that country. They need to be supervised by the government of that country, and that is where IN-SPACe has been made, which is the regulatory board of space in India. So we authorize all the space activities and we supervise all the space activities. We will come to that later. And every nation is responsible for the damage which is caused by their space object to any other space object. And they are responsible if any contamination of space object or celestial body is happening because of their space object. So this is all about Outer Space Treaty. Now, Outer Space Treaty is the mother treaty, the Rescue Agreement, the Liability Convention. They are all I should say they all came out of the Outer Space Treaty only. When you talk about Rescue Agreement, it is the same. Astronauts have to be taken care of, no matter which nation. when, how, where. Every state has to come together and find a way to rescue someone if the case comes. The liability convention, when it talks about the state has the liability, fault-based liability is there. Once your fault is established that yes, this country has a fault, then it will go to the International Court of Justice, and that is where you will be given the sanction that this is the amount that you have to pay if the fault is established, which is very difficult in the space business, by the way. Yes.
I have the question. Sorry for disturb.
No, please.
If I am the private entity, who sending the any biological payload, and if there is any contamination from my payload, then how am I supposed to, like, who am I to answerable to entire states or to my state itself?
No, you are answerable first to what you have contaminated. You have contaminated the environment. It has affected which space object. So you are answerable to first that space object for that space object state, because that will know na, that space has been contaminated. Just a minute. Hello. मैं एक इस lecture के बीच में हूँ. I'll call you. Okay, done. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ranga. So what
Yes, ma'am.
happens is, see, first thing is who will say that your biological payload has contaminated something. So that's something you are answerable to them first. So they will
Yes, ma'am.
establish that yes, you are liable. The fault belongs to you, and then that
Yes, ma'am.
particular country, that particular state will claim the damage from India. You being an Indian, India is a launching state in this case.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they will claim it, and in turn, you also, before you launch such a thing through
Yes, ma'am.
InSpace, you need an InSpace authorization, wherein InSpace
Yes,
will
ma'am.
take an indemnification from you, that you will indemnify government and government of India. So first we will pay to that state, and then we will recover it from you. So you are
Yes, ma'am.
answerable both to your state and the state where you have contaminated. It can be one, it can be more than one.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So the next is the registration convention. So what US General Secretary does is they will keep the register of all the space objects. So if a space object is registered on your name, then it is easy to to pass on the liability. It's as simple as that. It is not a mandatory thing right now. Lot of countries have not signed this registration convention, but then it helps you to put the liability if at all nobody is taking charge of that faulty space object. The third one, the last one, is the Moon Agreement. Now we all know that Moon Agreement, India is a signatory, though India has not ratified it. And it's US, China, they all have not signed this Moon Agreement. Why they have not signed this Moon Agreement? Anybody knows the reason? Because it talks about that whatever resources you bring from moon or other celestial bodies, it belongs to everyone. It is common for the humankind, and it should be shared. And we all know that from their Apollo mission, US has got the moon sand, which they don't want to share with anyone. Okay, so that is one main reason why US is not a signatory to the Moon Agreement, because it talks about not only sharing the responsibilities, but also sharing what you bring back from the space, because this treaty says that whatever you bring back from the space, it belongs to everyone. Everybody can use it. Everybody can explore it, which is not acceptable to US. So India also signed it, but because most of the countries did not sign the Moon Agreement, so the same was not ratified by the country. But India is a signatory to Moon Agreement. Okay. There are also few of the principles of UN which were they are written. They are just the principles. Again, something called morality. You should do it. It's good if you follow it. So these are 5 different principles, came at different points of times, like broadcasting principles, which talk about how the satellites are used for direct television broadcasting. Remote sensing principles talks about remote sensing of the Earth from using various Earth observation satellites. The nuclear power sources principle, it talks about non-usage, rather. It doesn't allow the use of nuclear power in the outer space areas. And if at all mining happens and you get any nuclear active element there, then what is to be done with that element? All those kind of do's and don'ts are mentioned in these principles. The last one is Benefit Declaration 1996, the most latest one, which talks about international cooperation, especially from a developing country point of view, that how they should also be, because they don't have those resources to go in the space or something, but they should get equal benefit what a developed country is getting. So all do's and don'ts, nothing mandatory, just a morality, just a ethic. That is what international space law talks about. Okay. So after this also, after this, because we know that all these space things, space law things are very, very generic. People may follow it, states may follow it, state may not follow it, but ultimately it becomes the responsibility of the state that the private actors working in the state, they must follow it. So if you talk about India, in space is responsible that all the space activities should be authorized. Okay. If anything goes beyond our authorization, then one is that private entity is answerable, but then the liability, as Ranga also told, the liability will fall on India as a state per se. So that is where things become very, very critical. And this do's and don'ts in the outer space, they keeps on changing. Lot of new things keeps coming. Now we say that outer space is for global common. We all know all states have equal rights and freedoms. This is again coming from outer space treaty. So a lot of forums talk about global commons. Now a lot of forums are talking about tragedy of commons. What is tragedy of commons? Say 4 states have come together and they have gone, say, on just for the sake of argument, they have gone on the Mars and brought some red soil from there. Now it is a shared source. They all have gone together. But once it has come back on Earth, it belongs to the entire mankind. Now, what that one state, which have, or 1 or 4 states who have gone together and brought it, they have a mandate that whichever country asks for it, they may have to share. If you go with this spirits of outer space treaty, they have to share. So whatever short time they have, when they are keeping that shared resource with them, they will exploit it to its fullest. This is tragedy of commons. They will not even waste any time, and they will keep on experimenting on that soil because they know that any time maybe they have to share it with anyone, because that is the spirit of outer space treaty. So people are talking about, the experts in the field are talking about tragedy of commons. There is something called Code of Conduct, which was introduced by European Union in 2008. Now, this Code of Conduct, how you should conduct yourself when you are doing the outer space exploration. Now, it talks about some 2-3 kinds of principles, It talks about principles like freedom to access the space for peaceful purpose. That is the utmost principle. The second is that when you are doing the outer space exploration, you have to be vigilant that you preserve the security and integrity of space objects which are in various orbits. So you should not harm any working asset of any state. Third principle that it works upon is that you should always give due consideration for the legitimate defense interest of the state. Now, what is legitimate, what is not legitimate? Again, extremely subjective. So people are only keeping it as a guideline, the code of conduct, no mandate that you have to follow it. Now, UN also came up with something called transparency and confidence building measures. They do it normally in all the sectors. In outer space also, they have this, wherein they encourage the states to openly talk about what are their plans for next 5 years. What kind of space exploration are they aiming for? Talk openly in the UN meetings. You should talk openly about what kind of budgets you have in space when it comes to any of the state discretion. You have to notify other states if at all you are undertaking any space activity which is going to risk their satellite. You should visit each other's launch facilities, satellite making facilities. The countries should do it for international cooperation per se. They should make use of each other facility. They should visit them. Like people should visit our SHAR facility. We should go and visit the California facility of SpaceX. Like this, the UN encourages all these things. They also say that you should develop the international cooperation, especially between the spacefaring and non-spacefaring nations, so that even the non-spacefaring nations can stand on their feet. So UN encourages all this, but then how much it happens on a real-time basis is a question mark. Okay. If you ask about India's perspective, Europe is very open when it comes to India-Europe partnership or India-Europe working together in space. But when it comes to USA, they are very, very closed about their systems, about the technologies that they have. They don't open up easily at all. Okay. This is out of my experience that I'm sharing. And with all these kind of lots of ifs and buts in this space law domain, the legal fraternity has a huge relevance. The specialized services are required now by everyone who is working in the space for making the contracts, for talking about insurances, talking about dispute resolutions. So legal firms, the space law has become a big hit when it comes to any legal fraternity these days. You need lawyers if you want to do a sound space business in the state. Now, why we have to authorize the space activities? Why IN-SPACe was formed? I mean, why we have to regulate space so much? Because Outer Space Treaty, the Liability Convention, and the Registration Conventions, they talk about it. Outer Space Treaty says that a state is responsible if anything goes wrong, even if it is a national space activity, government or non-government, whosoever does it, the state is responsible. Now, non-government space activities, the Outer Space Treaty says, must be authorized by the state and supervised by the state. And then the state is directly liable for all the damages that is caused by the space object. So that is where Outer Space Treaty has given you a guidance that whatever comes out of your state, it should be looked into. No non-responsibility when it comes to outer space exploration. Liability convention gives you the liability based upon the fault, and registration convention helps you to place that liability if it is registered on the name of your state. Now, space evolution. I don't know. You must be knowing all this. So from where the concept of this satellite came into picture, it was actually a friction thing. Arthur C. Clarke, he was a science friction writer, and in 1945 he wrote a paper wherein he just imagined that there is something circle in between, which is Earth. Just a minute. Hello. मैं बाद में बात करूंगी. I'm sorry. So where it just talks about that there is something, a circle in between, and there are 3 satellites placed at 3 different corners, maybe 120 degree away, and that is where it will cover the entire Earth. So from this Wireless World magazine, actually the scientists picked up this idea. He was not, okay. And after that only that arc of 36,000 orbit came into picture, from where west to east moving means it will be stationary relative to the Earth. So that is how the concept of satellites was thought of. First venture we have already seen, Sputnik 1 in 1957, and after that USA came with the communication satellite. Sputnik 1 was a remote sensing satellite, but this USA came up with the Syncom 1 satellite first. It was a launch failure. Syncom 2 was an experimental satellite, and Syncom 3 in 1964 was a hit, because that was the first time when the Tokyo Olympic opening ceremony was telecasted globally on the television through satellites. So that was a hit, and that is where the applications of satellites started picking up. So what kind of applications that we use the satellite for? Communication satellite is one, remote sensing satellite or Earth observation satellite is another. Then you have a lot of navigation satellite, which gives you PNT services. And finally, the deep space missions. Talk about orbit. The satellite can be placed either in GSO orbit or NGSO orbit. NGSO can be a low Earth orbit or a medium Earth orbit. The mass can be, it can be a CubeSat, or it can be a normal communication, a heavy communication satellite. So how many countries do we have globally? Any idea? Anyone? In total, how many countries are there?
193.
I'm sorry.
Like, so I didn't get the question. Can you?
Okay, your voice is breaking in between. So I was just asking how many countries do we have on Earth as of now? Okay, I think you're traveling, Ranga. Your voice is breaking. Can't hear you. So 193 to 195 countries are there that we have, out of which only 76, 77 countries have the capability to make the satellites. And let's be very proud that India is one such country which has that capability. And if you talk about launch of satellites, it's only 16 to 20 countries which have their launch vehicles. And India is one such country which has its own launch vehicles. So let's be very proud that we are in a place where this Indian Space Research Organization has done wonders in the past decades. So who was the father of our space program? Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, and I'm very fortunate. Yeah, I'm sitting in Ahmedabad. He was born and brought up in Ahmedabad, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. So it was his vision, and he wanted to use space technology for the human benefit. It was all human factor that he wanted to take care of. He knew how a satellite is capable of touching everybody's life, and that is where he encouraged the space program of India. So first thing which was established was in COSPAR in 1962. It started with this one small room, Still, ISRO has made a museum there. So it started with one small room. After that, they moved on to Tiruvananthapuram, where in Thumba for the sounding rockets. It's that facility started in 1963. ISRO was formed on a national holiday day, that is 15th August 1969. In COSPAR was superseded by ISRO, and Department of Space, which was made to directly report to Prime Minister. It was formed in 1972. ISRO came under Department of Space. So the hierarchy of ISRO since its inception has been Prime Minister, Department of Space, ISRO. And that is all what the hierarchy we still enjoy. And other department which enjoys the same hierarchy is atomic energy. The first satellite, the Aryabhatta was a remote sensing satellite. So it was launched in April 1975, and Apple was the first telecommunication kind of a satellite. Full form of Apple, Ariane Passenger Payload Experiment. It was launched in June 1981. And from 1982 onwards, we started with INSAT series, Indian Satellite Series. ISRO is headquartered in Bangalore, and it has facilities all over India. So you can see, if you can, what we were and what we are today. Just the comparison. These pictures are easily available on Google and other platforms. So starting from sounding rockets at Tiruvananthapuram to GSLV Mark III, which we call as LVM3, SLV had the capability of launching just 50 to 60 kgs in the polar orbit. And today Mark III is carrying more than 4 tons of satellite in GSO orbit. So I'm not saying that ISRO is the best in technology. I'm saying you see the trajectory of growth which has happened in ISRO, and from where to where you have come up, starting from 1970s to 2025 today. The picture that you are seeing, it's a satellite. It's a proper geostationary satellite carrying a lot of transponders and HTS payload in it. The total spacecrafts which are in service as on today are 54 satellites. You should know this, that in Asia Pacific region, ISRO is the biggest satellite operator, the major one. You have 25 remote sensing satellites, 18 are communication satellites, 8 are your navigation constellation, IRNSS, and 3 are other space situational satellites like Chandrayaan, Aditya, and all. Talking about various kind of applications, what ISRO has excelled, just a summary of what we have seen just now, the launch capability that we have, the kind of satellite operations that we have, I'm sorry, the technologies, the applications which have come up, communication, meteorology, disaster management, navigation, in remote sensing, we have n number of applications which we are catering to. So all these are the feathers in the hat of ISRO, I should say. Now, when you talk about all these applications, space application per se, you can divide it into two. And nowadays, we are dividing it into three kind of activities. That is upstream activity, midstream activity, and downstream activity. So talking about upstream activity, this is where ISRO is, make satellites and launch them. So this type of stream, it is highly capital intensive, risky, but the returns are very, very less because the satellite has just 15 years of life. So you have to start getting the payback of what you have invested at the first place within those 15 years. And you have to make some additional money so that you can plan for the next set of satellite, right? So that is where upstream activity comes into. You can see the numbers in 2020 and 2025 for upstream activities. The investment is more, but the returns are limited. And when you're talking about investment, you also have to talk about the kind of R&D which happens, the kind of testing facilities that that ISRO has, the kind of testing. Just a minute, I'll take some time. It's a lecture which no 4:10. Okay. Okay, so this is all upstream activities. Now talking about midstream, which is a new thing in the town, it is the people who operate these assets. Okay, they don't add any value. You have launched a satellite, say you have launched a remote sensing satellite. Till that, it's upstream launching of satellite. Now once it is launched, you just receive the data. You don't add any value to it. You don't do any corrections to that data. You don't do any calibrations to that data. So that is midstream activity. Even that is coming up now because this is a different segment wherein you have to establish the ground segment which can talk to the satellite. So this is midstream. And the third one is downstream activity, wherein the value is added to this data. The applications are made, the maps are made, the different kinds of topologies are designed around that data, and that is how consumer will consume it. So this particular portion, it is driven by a lot of softwares, lot of system engineering. The investments are much less, but the returns are much, much, much higher. Okay, in the downstream activity, you can see the numbers, how Indian space segment in 2020, what was the upstream revenue and what was the downstream revenue alone. Now, just a little bit, you should know where the space sector is going globally. So global space economy, this is as per SIA, Satellite Industry Report. Now, I'm not saying that the report is 100% accurate, but then what I like about SIA is that they are very consistent. Every year they give a report like this. So it's very easy to compare what it was and what it is. So last time it was some 394 billion And 2024, they have given the projection, or they have given the estimate of 415 billion for the space industry. Out of this, 122 billion is completely striked off because it is all government space budget. It is all, the missions like Chandrayaan, Aditya, which are basically space programs, space exploration programs. So leave alone that 122, the remaining 293 is the commercial satellite industry. In this commercial satellite industry, you can easily see that 39%, I had calculated the percentages for ease. Yes. So 39% is satellite services, and more than 50%, that is close to 52%, talks about ground equipments. And when you talk about ground equipments, they are mainly for the navigation purpose. You see how the space navigation is flourishing. The satellite services, at some point of time, it was number one category, which was earning revenue for the segment. And today it has become number two because the ground equipments have picked up like anything. So this is what the global space economy looks like. Now, what you are seeing on the right is the decadal vision of InSpace. So this is a document which is available on the InSpace website, wherein it was estimated that in 2023, the Indian space sector was 8.4 billion. That's all what it was, 8.4 billion. And the target which was set for 2033 is that this 8.4 billion will be 44 billion. And in this 44 billion, some 15 billion is only towards the communication. You can see the third line from the top, communication. It is estimated to be 4 billion in 2023 and expected to grow up to $14.8 billion in 2033. So that is the power of satellite services. The more and more applications roll out, the more and more revenue this particular segment is capable to generate. So that is where, friends, please understand, space affects the GDP of a country directly. And that's where you have to give the due importance to the outer space, to the space laws, how it should be explored, because one liability on a country, one demand, one damage demand from other state on a country, and the entire segment will wipe off, because that is the kind of stakes which people have invested in the outer space. So space reforms, you must be knowing, they were announced by BJP government, Modi government in May 2020, wherein they said that they are opening the space for private. And that is where they created InSpace. The Gazette notification was released. We had a chairman InSpace identified, Dr. Pawan Goenka. The board was constituted, and finally InSpace was inaugurated by PM Modi himself. This was followed by a lot of milestones that InSpace achieved, like differential pricing policy we came up with. Now, InSpace gives a due regard to all the micro and mini MSME companies, even the Section 8 companies, even the academia. They get differential pricing policies from InSpace. That is, InSpace funds to a percentage of the work of the support that they are taking from ISRO. We have seed fund schemes. And after that, Indian Space Policy 2023, it was released in April. Now, this policy, a slide is there, which I'll come on. It opened a huge, bag of opportunities for the non-government entities who were keen to work in space, but they were clueless how to get into, because space had always been a very secured, very protected division in government. Nobody wanted to open space for anyone. The bands were all very protected. Everything was like, no, national security, nobody can mess with it. But then in May 2020, reforms opened everything for everyone. You have loads of opportunities looking into. 2023, quarter 3, we had the decadal vision, which I have just shared. So the target which India has to achieve is that by 2033, India should touch a revenue of 44 billion. And this 44 billion will come both from import and export of services. The next one is FDI. You know FDI, foreign direct investment in the country, or especially in the space sector. That was revised. The policy was revised. Earlier, if you see, the FDI was establishment and operation of space objects, 100% under Government of India. That means even if 1 rupee is being invested, $1 is being invested from a US company, they have to take Government of India approval to invest that $1 in any of the space company of India. But now it has opened up. As per different categories, there is different percentage which is automatic and different percentage which is under government approval. So it is a welcoming move that people can come, invest, make money, do business in India. And that's where even Indian market, Indian space market, which is very, very naive right now, it will also flourish, it will learn. And based upon this Indian space policy, it's just a 10-12 page document. It doesn't give the detailing. So the detailing was done by InSpace in its norms, guidelines, and procedures. The version 1 was released in Q1 2024. So this is what InSpace is all about. We are promoter, enabler, authorizer, and supervisor. These are the 3 directorates. Promotion directorate takes care of promotion of space. Enabling is done by the technical directorate. The technical feasibility of projects is undertaken by them. Authorizing and supervising is done by program management and authorization directorate. I work for program management and authorization directorate. What has been the impact of InSpace? You can see how the investment in Indian space sector, it has increased to 135 USD in 2023. 2025, it's touching almost 150 to 160 USD billion. The space startups in 2025 are 350 now. That's the DPIIT number given to us. The FDI policy, we have already discussed, has been liberalized. New kind of applications never heard of, because once you have the new startups in the space, they come with new thinking. Now they are all talking about giving ground station as a service, giving satellite as a service. So I will make a satellite, you give me your payload, payload and satellite will marry, and then we will launch the satellite. You need not make the satellite, you need not make any of the components of satellite, you only take care of your payload, and I will take care of satellite. That is satellite as a service. So all these new concepts are coming up now, and all the startups are actively working in these kind of fields. We are going to have the Space Bill and Space Act very soon. It is undergoing the intergovernment consultation right now, and also these are all the initiatives of InSpace. But then the one major initiative in terms of financing the startups is InSpace has got its own technology adoption fund, wherein any early stage innovation, early stage space innovator can convert their innovation into a practical, commercial, viable product by using this TAF scheme. They have to fill up some application, one interview will happen, and you are eligible to get the milestone wise payments from InSpace. InSpace is happy to invest. InSpace also has 1,000 crore venture fund, wherein it is expected that it will help close to 40 startups every year. They will invest there, and that's how once the startup start getting into commercial business, the returns will happen. Seed fund scheme, differential pricing schemes, they are a hit when it comes to micro and mini MSMEs. This is all about space policy. We have seen that space policy, I was telling, it has opened a Pandora box for the NGEs. You can make rockets, you can launch rockets, you can make your own satellites, you can try even re-entry. You can have your own launch pad. If you don't want to invest on any upstream activity, go for downstream. You can acquire the Earth observation data from already established constellations, and you can become a data disseminator. You can create even the infrastructure within ISRO centers. That kind of opportunity is also being given to NGEs. You need not own your infrastructure, or you can use the testing facility of ISRO. Even InSpace has its own testing facility. We have a technical center at Ahmedabad. Yeah, if your college is keen, you can pay a visit and you can see that what kind of infrastructure InSpace has built up, because obviously ISRO has lot of other country level commitments also, and if their testing facilities are occupied with their own missions, their own satellites, then you can always come and use InSpace facilities. So
Ma'am,
from here,
sorry to interrupt. Yeah, actually, last year with PSLV C60, we had launched the biological payload, and we had come to InSpace for our testing of our payload. So, me and one of my colleagues had been to InSpace Technical Center, and we have utilized vibration tech, facility, also the thermo vacuum testing. And this year for students, I am in talks with Shashank sir for the technical center visit. So it's there in
he's
our,
the right
yeah,
person. Very good. He's the right person. So you have a design center where you can sit and design your
yes,
payloads, and you have the proper testing facility wherein all these environmental tests, the shock test, vibration test, everything happens. You can see
yes,
them live in front of you. And
right, ma'am.
fortunately, InSpace is placed at a location. So whatever facility InSpace has, it is basically for the CubeSats, right? But for the bigger
Yes,
satellites, within the campus only, we have a SAC
SAC,
facility. Yeah, that
yeah,
lab is also there, and it has a
right,
huge clean room. So you can also talk to Shashank, and
yeah,
he can enable the visit of your students at that place as well. Once you are coming
right,
with the students, you can do
yes,
that also. You can
yes,
finish
yes.
both the
We
visits
had
in one
planned.
go.
Right, yeah. Combined visit we had planned. Yeah,
Yes,
we are
yes.
into talks. Yeah, thank you.
Great. So this is an encouragement to your students. These are all the satellites and the launch vehicles which are made by non-government entities. We are seeing this pickup starting from 2021 to this date. In 4 years, if so many people are coming up and making the satellites, then I'm sure every college is capable of doing wonders here. So I'll skip this because next is SOP. So if you already have, you are saying that you already had a biological payload and which you lost in the launch, then you must be knowing this SOP. So MET has to apply. It's not an individual or a student cannot apply. MET as a college has to apply. The preliminary assessment will happen, and if at all your technology readiness level is greater than or equal to 3, your proposal will be accepted. The standing committee will assess the technical maturity, and once everything is done, you are good to go for ISRO support. Identification of which center will support you, that will be done by InSpace. So you can go to that respective center, you can sign the LSA with NSIL, MOUs and NDAs will be signed. This is all paperwork, nothing much. And that is where your satellite is good to launch. So that's how the SOP for students' proposal are taken up.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am. Actually, last time we did this, and we were fortunate to place our payload also in the orbit with help of InSpace. And this time also for SSLV, we have put up a proposal. So yes,
okay. That's very nice. So SSLV, that means next year only.
yes,
So
ma'am.
what kind of payload you have, Sneha?
This time also we have a biological payload, and this time
Okay.
we are trying to have uh, human cells basically in the payload
Okay.
and try to see them grow in space, how they grow there.
Okay. Very nice, very nice. So just some food of thought, if at all you have that entrepreneurship in your blood, a few things that
Right,
you can take up, because
right.
these are all the upcoming and the vibrant stuff which is happening in the outer space exploration right now. So that is all from my side. If you have any doubts, we can maybe Sneha, you can mail it across to me, and
Sure.
I will be happy to answer because it's already 4:10 and I should rush
Right.
for my meeting now.
Yes, ma'am. I'll not engage you more now, because you had already told me that you have a meeting after this. I am really thankful to you that you actually came up with such a wonderful and detailed talk for our students, and I'm sure they enjoyed your talk. Though they are also in travel, but they could actually join the meeting today. And I'm sure that maybe we can in future try a visit. Either we come to your place, or we will be happy to host you sometime in our center at Amit University, Mumbai, and then we can actually have a in-person one-to-one interaction with you.
Right,
So that
right.
will
We
be
will welcome that. Yeah. So
yeah.
if it is okay, then we will close the session. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, ma'am.